And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans here live on Twitch. And of course, right now also on Twitch, you can watch Classic Doctor Who. But who wants to watch Classic Doctor Who when you can talk about Stanley Cup Finals hockey? We had Game 1 the other night up in Vegas. Game 2 is literally an hour away. Well, maybe an hour and a half, depends on what Vegas does for a pregame presentation, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, let me welcome back to the show, because it's been a while, and it's our good friend George Fousekkis from Nova Caps. George!
Michael, thank you for having me on once again. It's so good to be back. I've been looking forward to this for a little while.
Yeah, we've been texting each other back and forth, going like, "Hey, you want to come on?" It's like, "Oh no, I can't." It's like, and we try to we almost started off differently when we hit the music. We almost went with something else to start the show, and then we went, "Oh wait, we can't do that." That's right.
Yeah.
So, but we got some Wednesday night hockey, y'all. All right, that's the one little reference to that one project that you and I tried to do together outside of this. So.
Yeah.
But Game 1, well, first off, because this is your first chance of really talking about it, why don't you kind of get into it and talk about what it's like for you seeing the Washington Capitals in the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in 20 years?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is something special for DC and all the surrounding areas. I know the fans that have waited, like yourself, that have waited so long for this and this opportunity. The fans in D.C. have witnessed nothing but suffering over the past, 10, 15 years or so, 20 years. This is something special, and it's so good to see the excitement, just the liveliness from the crowds. Like when you watch the videos from like outside of from Capital One Arena, like all the fans that are outside on the streets and celebrating, and even inside the arena, the fans that are watching the game, the away games. The excitement level in DC is bar none right now, and it's so good to see the Caps and the whole DMV area like rally around this team, because what the Caps are doing right now is something special, and it's something that you never know when it can happen again. I mean, the Capitals have had to wait 20 years for this to happen, so you never know when it could possibly happen again. So it's really exciting to see. It's really fun, and this is what the Stanley Cup Finals is all about. This is one of the best things to watch in sports. So I mean, it's really something special, Michael.
Yeah, and then one of the other things is that you and I were talking off air before this, because one, we wanted to catch up, and then natural in conversation between us two schmucks, it's either wrestling or hockey, and we're talking more of the hockey. But we were talking about how when you look at the last 2 years, you had that window on the Capitals, and then all of a sudden this is more the year for the team. The exercise, the demons of the Penguins, they had the bounces go their way, which they never had go their way the last few years while in the playoffs. So looking at it on paper, the last two teams were better on paper, but this is the team that's getting those bounces and that has had the fortune of making it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, and most importantly too, I mean, people were saying how, like, for the longest time, like, Alex Ovechkin, when is he going to get over the hump? I mean, this is his team, and it has been for over the past decade, and when was he finally going to break through? And finally we see an Ovechkin breaking through and delivering, and which is exactly what he's been built. This is what he's made for. This is what he's built his career on. Like, he has been one of the Caps' top players in the postseason, and it's not even close. Like, he's taken his game to the next level, and he's put the team on his shoulders, and if the Caps win the Stanley Cup, he's going to be a major reason why. And that's the other thing too, is the team lives and dies by him, and he's going to lead the way for him. And that's the other exciting thing. It's good to see one of the league's top players in the past decade finally click through. This is nothing but good for the National Hockey League.
And let's be honest, this is a team that does not live or die by Ovechkin anymore. Let's be brutally honest about that. Because if you look at this lineup up and down, this is a complete team right here. Especially the fact that Evgeny Kuznetsov is the one that's leading the Caps in scoring in the playoffs right now. Yeah, and I think you believe he has 2 points on Ovechkin in the points total right now. Tom Wilson has a goal in the Stanley Cup Finals now, and Tom Wilson's been contributing offensively. Devontae Smith-Pelly and Brett Connolly have both been contributing offensively. Especially Brett Connolly, who is somebody that we kind of wrote off after last year when he wasn't even getting played in the playoffs, and instead Terry Trotz is going with 7 defensemen instead. And of course, rookie Chandler Stevenson has played a big role, and Lars Eller has also played a massive role, especially when Nicholas Backstrom was out for those 4 games in the playoffs earlier this postseason. But going into Game 1, obviously, rust was going to be a factor, excitement was going to be a factor, but most importantly, nerves were going to be a factor going into this. And starting off the game right away at 5:53, you had Andre Burakovsky called for boarding, and on that power play at 7:15, Colin Miller would score the first goal in Vegas Golden Knights history in the Stanley Cup Finals to give them the 1-0 lead, assisted by Eric Haula. But then at 14:41, Brett Connolly would score his 5th of the playoffs, assisted by Michael Kempney and Andre Burakovsky. And then at 15:23, 42 seconds later, Nicholas Backstrom would score his 5th of the season or playoffs from TJ Oshie and Jacob Vrana. But then at 18:19, William Karlsson would be left alone to score his 7th of the playoffs, assisted by Riley Smith and Derek England. At one point in the period, the Capitals were being outshot 8-1 for like the first 13 minutes. But the shots would then become 11-2 in favor of Vegas. Face-offs were 14-13 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 19-11 in favor of the Caps. And the power play was 1-for-1 for Vegas, and the Caps did not have one. And I think you would agree with this analysis of this was not a great start to this game for the Capitals. They only registered 1 shot in the first 13 minutes of the game and also took a bad penalty, which led to a Vegas power play goal. The Caps, however, responded by scoring 2 goals in 42 seconds. A bad play would result in a tie game going into the intermission. Need to do for the Caps, and it's going to be kind of a constant thing, especially with bad ice, is that the Capitals need to settle the game down and simplify the game. When the Caps play a simple game, they control the tempo much better, and that's what they need to do, especially going into the final 40 minutes of Game 1. 30-21 into the second period, Riley Smith would score his 3rd of the playoffs, assisted by Derek England and Jonathan Marchessault. Then at 8:29, John Carlson would score a beautiful goal right into the open net, his 4th of the playoffs from TJ Oshie and Nicholas Backstrom. And then the Vegas Golden Knights bench would get called for too many men on the ice at 13:55. The Capitals would get some good opportunities, but not be able to capitalize on it. After the second period, it would be tied 3-3. Shots were 25-18 in favor of Vegas, where Vegas outshot the Capitals 14-8. Faceoffs were 24 apiece. Hits were 27-19 in favor of the Caps, and on the power play, 0-for-1 for the Caps and 1-for-1 for Vegas. This was also a rough period for the Capitals. They were outshot 14-8 by Vegas and outshot 7-1 to start the period again. The Caps had some good opportunities on their lone power play, but could not capitalize on it, as I mentioned on that before. The Caps need to keep the play in the offensive zone. Vegas is making defensive mistakes, which the Caps are capitalizing on, and they need to continue to do that. We'll elaborate more on some of those defensive breaks in a bit. But then going into the third period, at 1:09 into the period, Tom Wilson would score his 4th of the playoffs from Alex Ovechkin and Evgeny Kuznetsov. Then at 2:41, on a very controversial play, Ryan Reeves would score his 2nd of the playoffs, which would be unassisted. Then at 5:53, Tom Wilson would be called for interference, and David Perron would be called for cross-checking. Then at 9:44, Thomas Nosek would score his 2nd of the playoffs from Shea Theodore, and then he would get the empty netter at 19:57, assisted by David Perron. Vegas would go on to win this game 6-4. Shots were 34-28 in favor of Vegas. Faceoffs were 33-30 in favor of Vegas. Caps out-hit Vegas 38-25, and there was no change on the power play. The Caps were 0-for-1, where Vegas was 1-for-1. we can hop right into it right now. Tom Wilson, I want to hop right into this part. Start of the third period. Caps did not have a good start for the first two periods. Third period, they get on the board. Marc-Andre Fleury actually kicks the puck into his own net to give the Capitals the 4-3 lead. Moments later, Ryan Reeves then does a full-blown cross-check that takes out John Carlson from the play and then scores the game-tying goal at that point. No penalty was called on that play when it should have. Obviously, that played an effect. We always hear about the referees not wanting to influencing the game. That non-call right there influenced the game right there. And then, of course, you had another one where 40 seconds left. Braden Holtby's pull. Caps have the extra man. Lars Eller's in front of the net. Tom Wilson throws a really good center ice pass to him. Braden McNabb comes in and does a full-blown ball bunion chop on Lars Eller's stick to prevent the goal from him getting his stick on the puck. That should have been a penalty, but because they go by this thing of this, if the stick doesn't break, it's not a penalty, which is complete garbage. That right there also costed the Washington Capitals the ability to tie the game at 5 apiece to send us to overtime. George, I just did the full-blown breakdown real quick here on the entire game. What was your thoughts on this game?
Well, Michael, I mean, the thing is that game, it was full of everything. I tell you what, there was a lot of goals, some questionable officiating, some bad ice. I mean, this game one actually really opened up everything, and everything. Unfortunately, the Capitals didn't get a few breaks in this game that they probably should have. Reiterating, going back to the Reeves goal, you have to. I know the officials are going to let more things go sometimes, but when there's a goal involved like this, you have to make the right call, and you have to make sure that if you don't make enough calls in the game, things can tend to break out later on. And then when things break out later on, it becomes more chippy. The players take more liberties with each other. The officials need to they have to find a balance to making calls, calling blatant things. They have to call these things, because if they don't, the game can get a little out of control. And unfortunately for the Capitals, they didn't get the calls in this game. And it definitely led to the frustration of the Capitals bench. I mean, I've never seen John Wilson as animated as he was after the play, but very animated as he should have been. And the officials really need to look. They have to make the calls when necessary.
Yeah, and that's a massive problem that hopefully, and one of the other things is that, and Barry Trotz has said it, Gerard Gallant has said it, a lot of the players have said it, what you saw in game one, you're not going to see the rest of this series. The rest of this series, you're going to see more tight-knit hockey, more lower goal production, in these games. If we see a lot of goals again, it's probably because they're going back and forth, high-octane offense type of play. And, for the Caps, especially getting 4 goals on Marc-Andre Fleury, that is a great thing for the Capitals. It's, I believe, the first time in the entire playoffs that he gave up 4 goals. So for the Capitals to do that, it kind of shows to the rest of the league, it's like, we can beat this guy. We just need to make sure that, we play a much better defensive game in our own zone. We make better breakouts. And especially with the ice not going to be really that great in both Vegas and Washington, because right now in Vegas it's about 100 degrees, but the humidity is low. But here in DC, it's like 90-something degrees, and the humidity is very high. And those are going to play factors on the ice as well. So obviously, when you try to play better defensively in your own zone, both teams gave up really bad goals when it came down to, like, William Karlsson and the Thomas Nosek goals. The John Carlson goal and the Tom Wilson goal were both results of defensive failures in their own zone. That's the type of stuff that needs to be cleaned up and is going to be cleaned up moving forward in this series. And that's something that we're definitely going to get to look forward to, and seeing which team does the better adjustments moving forward.
I mean, I think the Capitals are in a good spot too. I mean, they're very loose. This is a very patient group. They've been through it all. They've seen it all. Maybe it might be a blessing in disguise that they had a game like this early on in the series. You know, there's still a lot of hockey left, but it will be important for them. They need to try to get this thing even, especially tonight. They're a veteran group. They know what the stakes are. They know what they're getting into. The Caps. I have all the faith in the world that this Capitals team is actually different just by watching them this year and just by seeing how loose they're playing, especially in this postseason. It's been a lot different vibe this year versus in years past, where it seems like they've always played a little bit tighter. They've always played a little bit more conservative. Like, this Capitals team looks like that they're playing very loose. They're playing very alive, and they look happy still. They're still embracing the moment and still embracing being in the Stanley Cup Finals. So I have faith that this Capitals group is going to rebound and they're going to get everything going pretty soon.
And of course, one of those things that's been helping the Capitals stay loose, stay happy, has been head coach Barry Trotz. You know, he is, Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada, he noted that, because I was actually watching the presser that Barry Trotz did before today's game, and Friedman came out and said it's like, he is the most loose coach that I have seen at the podium during the Stanley Cup Finals. Barry Trotz is so loose, and it's resonating in the locker room and on the bench with the Capitals, and I think that's a major factor, and especially for a guy whose future with this very team is in question.
Right, absolutely. I mean, Barry Trotz still hasn't been extended past this year, so there's still going to be a major decision at the end of the year for the Capitals, even with him making it to the Cup Final now. Like, is Trotz going to stay around, or maybe he would actually consider retirement if he actually went out on top and won the Stanley Cup. You never know. Things can change daily in the NHL, but Barry Trotz is, I agree with you, he's been as loose as he's ever been, and he's also been through all the disappointments as well, but this is the time of year where you do have to, I mean, it's best for you if you stay loose. You have to stay calm, you have to stay cool and collected. Even though the stakes are as high as ever, you still have to show confidence, you still have to just breathe easy, enjoy the moment, and just take care of business. So I think that Trotz's body language and everything and the way he's talking, it is resonating on the Capitals, and that's nothing but good for this club that's been through so many disappointments in years past.
Now, George, I know the people can't see you, but I just set the camera on Skype so you can see me. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that Barry Trotz has been telling the press has been to hydrate. And today, real smooth.
Real smooth.
Yeah, he did the Patrick Kane Duncan Keith commercial for the press today, and I am actually drinking the actual one, not the bottle off of the freaking commercial, but the same flavor that they drink in the commercial, which is the Blackberry Wave, which is my favorite one of them of the smooth flavors. It actually really is that smooth. So there's your cheap plug, Gatorade. Give me some money. I could use it. But going into game 2, what, in your opinion, are the 3 keys to the game? And we're going to flip this real quick. 3 keys to the game for Vegas.
For Vegas, I think for Vegas, you have to, first of all, jump on the Capitals early. I mean, if you do that, you get your home crowd into it early. They scored the first goal in the last game. I would do that again if I was in Vegas's shoes. I think the first goal of the game is always a tone setter. It doesn't matter if you're the home or the away team. I think if Vegas can get the first goal, get the crowd behind them, keep them alive, that can put more pressure on the Capitals bench to, because then the Capitals will be trailing and they'll be playing from behind. I mean, that's where you can ultimately mess with a team a little bit, is to lower their confidence right off the bat. So I think that's one of the keys for Vegas. I think the second key for Vegas, I mean, and this has been in the whole playoffs, has been Marc-Andre Fleury. Without Fleury, playing as well as he has, they would not be where they are right now. And I think he's going to be the key in every game going down the stretch right now. Fleury could very well, if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup, he is most likely going to be the Smythe Trophy winner for that club. So, obviously, Fleury is an important factor, a major cornerstone for that franchise, and his play is going to dictate on how well they perform and how well, they win the Stanley Cup. So, I think that's the second thing, and obviously, and this is probably one that goes for both teams, is special teams. The Capitals, something tells me that they might actually get more favoritism with the officials tonight. I could be wrong, but you never know.
It's the Caps. We're always wrong.
Well, that's true, yeah. But obviously, Vegas needs to be careful tonight with taking penalties and whatnot, because obviously, the Caps power play in the postseason has been outstanding. So you can't give Alex Ovechkin and company any power play opportunities, because they will make you pay for them. And the Caps power play, I think, is a smidge better than the Vegas penalty kill. So that's definitely a thing to watch out for too. Is Vegas needs to not take that many penalties, and don't put Alex Ovechkin out there on the power play, because he'll make you pay for it.
Yeah, and then I'm sorry, George, but I'm going to do the three keys for the Capitals. Hence why I switched it around a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the Capitals, obviously number one will be just like with the Vegas Golden Knights with Marc-Andre Fleury. Braden Holtby will need to bounce back after Game 1. Both goalies openly admit that was not a good game for either of them, just like how both coaches admit that game was not good for either team, period. So obviously Braden Holtby needs to bounce back and be back to the Braden that he was, especially in Game 6 against Pittsburgh and in Games 6 and 7 against Tampa Bay. If Braden Holtby's on that level, it will literally be a one-goal game that wins these next few games that are going to get played. Number 2 is obviously going to be the defensive breakouts out of the zone. They got to have better coverage in their own zone, but when they also get the puck, they need to get it out of their zone and transition the breakout a lot faster and a lot more efficiently. One of the things that Braden Holtby did say in his presser yesterday was the fact that, especially on him, when he's trying to help with outlet passes and stuff like that, is that normally when teams forecheck and pressure, you can read the plays a lot better, but however with Vegas, they're a lot more erratic when they do their forecheck coming into the zone to force pressure. So they're going to have to do a much better job of making sure that they can do better tape-to-tape passes to get out of their zone, and also if Vegas is going to be very erratic with how they're going to do the forecheck, they need to find a way to utilize that as part of their transition to create odd man opportunities for themselves going into the Vegas offensive zone. And of course, the third one is going to be discipline. Discipline is going to be a key thing. Obviously the Caps had the one power play that went against them with Andre Burakovsky doing the boarding call, which was actually the right call to make. Capitals got lucky in regards to Tom Wilson, because David Perron came out on the ice and then cross-checked TXHT, which got him a 2-minute minor for cross-checking, which nullified the potential of a Vegas power play. Obviously Tom Wilson, it was a blindside hit. It was a bad hit. He deserved the penalty that he got. No head contact. The head was never point of contact, which is why there was no hearing whatsoever. But the thing is, though, is that a lot of eyes are going to be on Tom Wilson in that regard, so he needs to remain disciplined. But not only that, but the Capitals as a whole need to remain disciplined as well, because guys like Ryan Reeves is going to go around and try to rough things up a little bit. James Neal is going to try to rough things up a little bit, along with certain other players on the Vegas Golden Knights who have been around for a while. So discipline will definitely be the key, and with good discipline will lead to my second key, which is the good breakouts, the good transition, the good pass to tape to tape, because you're going to need good discipline to be able to do that type of stuff as well. So, lineups have not changed at all. I already have the lineups for tonight, so we're going to go through it real quick. For the Capitals, it will be Alex Ovechkin with Evgeny Kuznetsov and Tom Wilson, Jacob Vrana with Nicholas Backstrom and TXHT, Andre Burakovsky to Lars Eller and Brett Connolly, Chandler Stevenson with Jay Beagle and Devontae Smith-Pelly, and on D, Dmitry Orlov with Matt Niskanen, Michael Kempney with John Carlson, and Brooks Orpik with Christian Hughes, with Braden Holtby between the pipes. And for Vegas, you have Jonathan Marchessault with William Karlsson and Riley Smith, James Neal with Eric Holla and David Perron, Ryan Carpenter with Cody Eakin and Alex Tuck, Thomas Nosek with Pierre-Edouard Bellemare and Ryan Reeves. On D, you got Braden McNabb with Nate Schmidt, Shea Theodore with Derek England, Lucas Spiza with Colin Miller, and Marc-Andre Fleury between the pipes. Now, I know we're one game in already, but George, I have a question for you. Doesn't matter who wins the cup. Who's your Conn Smythe Trophy winner?
Right now, my Conn Smythe Trophy winner would be Marc-Andre Fleury. Due to the simple fact that his goaltending has been outstanding, and he's only maybe had one bad game in the playoffs, and that was game one. So he's been outstanding. For the Capitals, on the other hand, I think it would be Evgeny Kuznetsov. His play has been outstanding. He's really stepped up, and he gets points every night, it seems like. I mean, he's doing all the little things too that you need to do well. I mean, he's back checking, he's getting involved, he's getting below the dots, he's doing all the little things as well to help that Capitals top line out. So I think Kuznetsov would be my candidate for the Capitals. But if I'm being choosy between both teams, I'm going to say Marc-Andre Fleury at the moment. Now, that could all change if this series goes the distance, Fleury's play changes, everything can change. But right now, I would probably go with Marc-Andre Fleury at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of those choices in regards to Fleury and Kuznetsov. I think Kuznetsov, hands down, has been the MVP of the Capitals, without a doubt. I mean, we always talk about Alex Ovechkin and stuff like that, and the thing that we've always known about Ovechkin is that he has always showed up for his team in the playoffs. He is always, I mean, if you look at his playoff stats, he has always showed up for the team. He's always put up numbers. But the fact that Kuznetsov has come in and has really stepped up and has led this team in scoring, he has been the ultimate MVP of the Capitals in these playoffs. And I also agree with Marc-Andre Fleury. But also at the same time, I put a little asterisk next to it because it seems like the Western Conference was a little too easy on the Vegas Golden Knights coming into the Stanley Cup Finals, being how they played. They swept, then they won in 5, and then they won in 6. So to me, it was like they kind of went through it a little bit too easily for the Vegas Golden Knights. But
yeah, I think the Capitals' road has been a little bit tougher to get there, but these are two quality teams, and they obviously they're both built by a certain general manager named George McPhee. He helped build both of these clubs and assemble both of these clubs, and the both of these teams are very talented. They have talent everywhere in the lineup. I mean, you go up and down the lineup everywhere. Both of these teams, in my opinion, they both deserve to be here, and it's going to be a fun rest of the Stanley Cup Final. I mean, these games are going to be, I have a feeling they're going to be highly entertaining, and the crowds are going to be entertaining. I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's good for the sport of hockey that these teams are in it, and they're competing for a chance for the ultimate prize.
So real quick, because we haven't gotten it from you, what's your prediction? Even though we're already finished game 1 and we're about to go into game 2.
Oh man, my prediction for the series?
Yeah. No, I want your prediction for the 2020 finals involving Seattle versus Vegas in the Western Conference Finals. Oh wait, that would be 2021 for that one. Never mind.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Capitals in 6. I think that the Caps are gonna rebound here. I think that they're gonna get it done. This team has been through so much, and they've been through so much adversity. I just don't.
You're about to cry a little bit just saying that.
No. And the way I'm looking at it too is that.
Oh, I was mentioning the fact that you're rubbing your eyes like you're about to cry.
No, I think it's weird because this cup final, or this finals run for them has been unique because they've exercised many demons in this and like to me, when you've done that, it's like Vegas doesn't have this exercising demon story behind them. They have, they're new, they're the new kids on the block. That's all great and all, but what the Capitals have been through over the past few years, to me, the Capitals' destiny is a little bit different if they win, because they've exercised demons along the way. It took them forever to beat Pittsburgh, and they finally did it. They beat John Tortorella along the way. They finally did it, and he was a thorn in their side for many years in the playoffs. And then Tampa Bay, of course, they've been one of those nemesis for the Capitals in the postseason, and they finally got over the hump with them. It's like the Capitals have finally exercised a lot of their playoff demons this year, and I think that's why it's destiny for them to win now. And so that's why I'm going to go with the Caps at 6. I think they're going to rebound. I think they're going to pull everything together, and they're gonna do something special here. So I'm going to say Capitals in 6 games.
Yeah, I definitely say Caps in 6. But also one thing that you're forgetting about with Tampa Bay, you mentioned John Tortorella with Columbus and in the years that he coached the Rangers against the Capitals. Then you talk about the Penguins. The Tampa Bay Lightning had a lot of former Rangers on that team that played against the Capitals under Tortorella. So it made it that little more interesting tidbit, especially the fact that 3 of those defensemen played against the Capitals a lot, and that was Ryan McDonough, Dan Girardi, and Anton Stralman. And then, of course, you had Ryan Callahan and JT Miller on offense. And then, of course, you had former Penguin Chris Kunitz also on that roster. So you're battling all the other past demons of another team or teams in the Eastern Conference Final for a team that you would never been able to beat in the playoffs either as well. So it just made it more interesting. But it's 7:32. I know we normally go for an hour, but you know what? I kind of figured that we weren't going to go a full hour with these things. So George, real quick, plug Nova Caps.
Okay, well, you can obviously go on the NovaCaps website at novacaps.com. You can also find us on our Facebook page at NovaCaps. We also are on Twitter at Nova_Caps and on Instagram at Nova_Caps. You can find me on my Twitter at CanucksFin56. That's at CanucksFin56. I'm on Twitter. Say hello to me, tweet me, do whatever.
Just don't retweet the show at all, I'm just saying.
Yeah. And of course, Michael, we have your Twitter feed as well. I believe it's at TXHT_hockey. Is that right?
Yeah, the one that you wouldn't retweet when we're promoting you for the show.
Yes.
Well, watch. She's good. Watch. You're gonna go back and retweet all the tweets and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on this show later. And it's like the show's already done. Schmuck.
Yes, yeah.
But no, George, it's always a great blast to have you on. And speaking of that, Saturday night will be the next episode of TXHT. It will be right before Game 3, 7 p.m., just like it is tonight. And then, wow, I look like a doofus on the camera, right? Because there's like a 15-second delay, and I can see it on my TV, so I can see the chat room, which no one's chatting in. And I look like a doofus. But anyways, we're back on live here on Twitch at 7 p.m. on Saturday. We'll be doing Game 2 recap and Game 3 previewing. Guests to be determined. George, maybe, potentially, possibly. I don't know. And then, of course, on Sunday morning at 10 a.m., we will be live with DCHL action as the Street Sharks take on the Hockey Dead. Maybe some George live tweeting about the game. Maybe, possibly, could be. I don't know. Could be making fun of a specific Michael Lindenbaum who plays in the game, but sorry, I just have to. It's been so long since we've been able to do this together. But yeah, you can follow the show on Twitch. You can follow the show on Twitch and watch the show live on Twitch at twitch.tv/TXHT_hockey. Twitter at TXHT_hockey. Join the Patreon community, which this episode and all other episodes are posted onto at patreon.com/TXHT_hockey. And of course, Facebook at facebook.com/TXHT hockey. It's a lot of TXHT hockey to put out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, George, thanks again for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back Saturday. We'll be back Saturday at 7 p.m. for right before Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Washington Capitals and Vegas Golden Knights. And until then, we will see you on the ice.